Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
What is up, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. Today, for episode 33, we have a special one. It's going to be a little interesting. It's going to be a little less nuts and bolts, a little more community love, and some spoiler hype. That's right. Yeah. So I was waiting to hopefully do a breakdown. I have an order that I'd like to do things in, where I want to do the first episode to be a mechanics episode, breaking down the 5 new mechanics for the new set, then do a commons and uncommons set review, as well as finishing off the trio with the legendary and rare set review. But Darrell decided to push back the release, and since we are still in the hot spot of spoiler season, then I figured I don't want to fall too far behind the train, and we're gonna go ahead and do some spoilers today. It's not gonna be as in-depth, and it's gonna be a little more constructed focused than limited focused, but you know, we'll get through a couple today and see what's up, because I definitely don't want to fall behind the hype. But as usual, we got some housekeeping to do. So first things I want to mention is the YouTube channel. That is EJthePodcast, or simply search up Eternal Journey on your new YouTube search bar, and my page will come up. That's right. And you guys can check out all the content I have on there, to include constructive videos, draft videos, sealed videos, tournament reports, and I think if I have some time, I might start actually doing some update current event videos on there. You know, little short snippet, 10-minute clips talking about whatever is going on in Eternal. Definitely throw a subscribe and a like and alert bell click and all that good stuff up that way, so you guys can catch my stuff when you can't catch me live. Speaking of live, you can catch me streaming every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday morning Central Time at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. I am primarily drafting. For sure, Monday, Tuesdays we're drafting. Sundays are kind of up in the air now. I do a little bit of brewing, testing out new decks and memes and themes, like stuff like that, as well as doing some drafts and maybe sealed. So come hang out. Let me know how you're liking the format, how you're liking or hating the podcast, and yeah, just join the Eternal Journey. You know what I'm saying? So that rolls right into our shout out section, and I want to go ahead and take a moment to shout out someone that actually found me on Reddit. I did not know this. I do apologize. I'm apologizing first, and then I'm going to give them a shout out because I feel a little bad. But that Resolves is actually a content creator, an Eternal content creator that has been on YouTube. Let me go ahead and pull that up on the screen for you guys right here. So that Resolves right here, give this guy a follow and a like and a subscribe and stuff. Quite good content. I have enjoyed his content. Turns out that he actually has been starting all of his YouTube videos with welcome to the Eternal Journey. So I feel kind of bad that I ended up stealing his name or title. I do apologize. He was super cool about it and said I am more than welcome to use it. That was mighty kind of him. So shout out to that Resolves. Once again, check out his YouTube channel. Throw a subscribe out there. Does a lot of brewing. Posts the deck reviews, as you guys can tell. So yeah, show him some love. I really do appreciate it. If there's one thing I could say is that there's never enough content for Eternal to share this great game of ours. But yeah, definitely give him a shot. Wow, it definitely goes way back there. So yeah, guys, show that Resolves some love, if you will. Really kind of him to essentially not crack the whip on me and have me change all my logos and names and stuff. Next up, I want to mention some other content creators. We have the Misplay Podcast. That's right. That has Gato Sujo and Parmalee. They are 2 fantastic guys. They're actually helping me with a promotion project that I am doing on the side, even though it cost a ridiculous amount of editing hours. I'm going to get that out to you guys eventually, but they were kind enough to participate in it. They have the Misplay Podcast, which is actually quite entertaining. I am an avid listener of their podcast, so definitely check out the Misplay Podcast. They have done some pretty great things with their show, to include had an Direwolf employee on the show doing an interview, asking several questions about the game and whatnot. So that was really interesting and really kind of them to do. They just finished doing a bounty hunt where Direwolf gave them some silver and gold chest tickets, I believe, to pass out to the community. So if you were able to play them in a ranked or draft match and beat them, screenshot it and send it to them on the Discord, they gave you a reward or a bounty. And then they also interviewed Mediocre, which is another phenomenal streamer that is once again helping me with my side project. So as you can see, we have a really great community in the form of Eternal. It's one of the things that I think draws me to this game, as well as the actual gameplay, and why I'm so excited about sharing this game with other people, because I feel like it is one of the least toxic, if at all toxic, communities I have experienced. In fact, there is a little bit every once in a while. Most of it is actually directed towards Direwolf. I think as a whole, we're extremely friendly to each other and willing to help each other out in this little niche of the trading card or collectible card game market. So yeah, definitely show these guys some love. That's Resolve, the Misplay Podcast as well. Next up, I want to mention Telemocos is doing another tournament this Tuesday, the 24th. Give me a second, guys. I do apologize. Seems Discord is going a little crazy. Let me close that real quick. I apologize for that if that came out a little too loud over the podcast. I'm also dealing with allergies if I sound a little different. But on the 24th, Tuesday night, Telemocos is doing another tournament. I am not 100% sure if I'm going to be co-hosting that one or not. Depends on some real life commitments that I have, if I can get them rescheduled, etc., etc. But this one's going to be an expedition tournament, so definitely tune in there. Telemocos, Telemokes on Twitch, and tune in for the festivities. And finally, our new subscribers, thanks to Subtober or September or sub something. Everyone's being super generous with their subs, and I have a couple of shout outs to give because these people are awesome, and why not, right? Because I like to show love, and I really appreciate the people that have taken the time to support me, and so I'd like to give them a shout out on this podcast. You too can be shout out or had a shout out, receive a shout out, there we go, on the podcast simply by subbing. Yeah. So first up, I want to mention Cassandrith, which is another fellow streamer, limited streamer. The guy is absolutely phenomenal, super entertaining, super strategic, very great intuitive plays, walk through his thought process. Great guy to watch. Check him out. So thank you, Cassandrith, for the sub. We have Circa Sparkles, which is yet another streamer. She does all kinds of stuff, does limited, does sealed, does constructed. She just recently had her birthday on stream, so that was super exciting to watch that and kind of join the festivities with her. She went all out and did a bunch of extra things for her stream. So shout out to Circle Sparkles. Thank you so much for the sub. And then a fellow avid limited player, Darth Herman 2. Thank you so much for the sub. I really do appreciate that. He's also been very adamant about giving me feedback about the show, so I really do appreciate it. If you guys like the direction the show is going in and see small modifications, you can thank Ben Gracier from Farming Eternal, as well as Darth Herman too. So thank you guys so much for that. But that's our shout outs, guys. So thank you once again. The Misplay Podcast with Gato Sujo and Parmalee. We have That Resolves on YouTube. We have Telemocos with the Expedition Tournament this Tuesday. And then streamers and fellow limited players, Ben Gracier, Darth Herman, Circa Sparkles, and Cassandrith. You guys all rock. And then once again, thank you to all the people that continue to resub to the channel. I really do appreciate that. It's exciting to see all the little lightsabers pop up. And then I'm super stoked because in I think about 2 months, a bunch of you will start getting your Darth Maul lightsabers. So that's super awesome. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. All right, guys, let's go into our pack one, pick one. Let me get that up on the screen for you guys that are watching this on YouTube. That's right. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you actually get to see video content, not just my logo. So let's go ahead and crack a pack. Those are all the shift stones going into your shift stone bank. For those of you that didn't know that, that was a super accurate sound. I'm surprised you didn't recognize that. But let's go through the comments. We have Heist, not going to play it. Yeti Bully, not a thing. The Soul Curator, the 4/4 for 4, that Soul Curator can't attack unless you have played a spell this turn. I think it's fine. 4/4 for 4 is a great blocker, and occasionally if it gets in there, it gets in there. You're not super excited to put in your deck, but it does some work. Needle Spitter, I have seen this card go off. I have seen a 9/3 Needle Spitter, but having an 0/3 that takes some work to just make it a 3/3 is not really a thing for me, so still on Curator. Next up we have Phase Out, the 1 gold spell, slow spell. Choose a unit and shift it. So it essentially is temporary removal, or essentially re-triggers a shift aspect of one of your units. I've seen it played both ways. I think it's okay, but I'm not going to first pick it. Warfront Missionary, the 1/3 for 1 and a green. Yep, nope. Angry Prophet, the 1/2 Cultist for 2 and a shadow, and +1 attack for each of your other units. Yeah, nope, not a first pick either. And our last uncommon, which is one of my pet cards, as you guys know if you saw the Sunset show or heard, is the 1/4 Toward Test Pilot Minotaur Valkyrie for 4 and a green. It has flying, and you can pay 2 and twist Toward Test Pilot to gain 1 armor. This card does everything. It's a good blocker, it's a good attacker because it has evasion. You can adjust its power level accordingly to the board state. It gains you armor, which has some synergies. But yeah, let's go into the uncommons because we have some strong ones. Weakest one here is Stronghold Vandal, the 3/1 for 2 and a red, which obviously dies to everything, but shift 3, kill an enemy attachment. It's done some work. It's serviceable. It's not backbreaking, but with obviously people are going to be playing some weapons. People are definitely going to be playing Horn of Plenties, so occasionally it can kind of get them. So yeah, we have Headhunter, the 2/1 for 1 and a green, Minotaur Gunslinger. Pay 2 and twist Headhunter to play a wanted poster on an enemy unit. And wanted poster is a curse that goes on an enemy unit, and when that enemy unit dies, you draw 2 cards. Yeah, still not beating out Toward Test Pilot, but our last uncommon, I think this one's awesome. This one, I think it does actually beat out Toward Test Pilot, and this is Umbran Voidbringer. This is the 2/2 Radiant for 4 Shadow. Flying and Berserk. Onslaught trigger, draw a unit from your void. This card is awesome. Absolutely awesome. It is a 2/2 flyer with a Berserk. So it's evasive. It can get it for a bunch of damage if you're able to pump it to include the same color that has Spiteful Strike, the +2/+1 quick draw and lifesteal. And it gets your best unit out of your void. This card is awesome. Excuse me. Yeah, this card is fantastic. I absolutely love playing it. I think this is clearly our front runner. But we do have a rare that's quite a doozy. We have Eclipse Dragon. This is the 4/4 dragon for 5 red. Flying, charge, and quick draw. At the start of the enemy turn, you get a 3 power this turn. Of note, that is the exact power that you need to cast a Streets of Flames or a Display. So this card is quite powerful, but to be completely honest with you, I do not think it is a Windmill Slam over Voidbringer. Yes, that's right. I think this one kind of comes down to personal preference. I like Eclipse Dragon quite a bit, and I do think it seals the deal a lot of the times, but there are cards in this format that just stonewall Eclipse Dragon. For example, the oh gosh darn it, can't believe I just forgot the name of it. The Accuser, sorry, the 3/5 flyer in green stops this. So there are some cards to consider that can essentially put a damper on your Eclipse Dragon, versus Voidbringer kind of goes for the long game. It's not going to end the game right away, but it does have some value. So I think it's a personal preference call. Eclipse Dragon, excuse me guys, I do apologize. Eclipse Dragon will close out the game quickly, especially if you have just a single combat trick to make sure that if they do try to double or triple block it, you're able to get it out of the way. When it dies to removal, you may or may not have gotten your value out of it, versus Voidbringer. If you did, then obviously you immediately, if it does die, you still got your value out of drawing a unit from your void. And of course, if you have 2, then you are able to chain them together as well. That is a thing. So I can see an argument for either or. I think I might just slam Dragon here personally, just because of the fact that I do want to close out the games when we turn the corner. And I do think Fire is starting to be slightly underdrafted. But I have no problem taking Voidbringer as well if the game goes long. Just pack one, pick one. I think I want to... I don't know. It can go either way, honestly, because I'd be okay taking Voidbringer because you just get back your best unit, especially if it's like something that the opponent took time to try to get rid of, you know? Can you imagine if you played a Stiggy, you swing with Stiggy, they block, they like triple block, they lose 2 guys, they get it out of the way, and then you immediately cast Voidbringer to get it back? Like, come on, that's insane value. See, I might actually lean towards Voidbringer. Obviously, that's best case scenario, but still. And, you know, it is pack one, pick one, so you still have the chance at least to look at 3 other rares or legendaries. You might even get past one, so that's happened before. So, yeah, that is our pack one, pick one, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Let me know which one you would have picked in the comments below, or on Twitter, whether it would have been the Eclipse Dragon or the Umbran Voidbringer. All right, so with that being said, let's go into our main topic, which is some limited tournaments coming up. The first limited tournament we're going to talk about is brought to you by Farming Eternal. That's right. Great guys over there. Ben Gracier, Patumaro, or Patrick, and actually I haven't seen them on for a while, but Barefoot Farmer. Those guys over there they're at it again. If you guys want to look on the YouTube channel, look for the Double Draft Duels video I did, which was their first tournament where you simply took one of your 7-win draft decks from their 7-win deck lists and double everything. So you get a 90 card deck, and we battled each other. They went ahead and got the feedback from that, modified it, and created a new format for us to battle it out. We sadly have to use 75 card decks because of the fact that Direwolf has not implemented a 45 card challenge yet. So if your deck is not 75 cards, you can't battle, you can't challenge your friends, and so this is the making do with the best we have. This tournament is going to take place, the deadline to submit your decks is going to be Friday the 27th of this month, and that is actually the start date of this tournament as well. I believe we are doing 14 days, so 2 weeks to battle it out and play. I have it up on screen now. You guys can also join the Farming Eternal Discord and go there and select it. But so this time, instead of just doubling up our decks, here we are able to hand pick your draft deck. That's right. But there are some stipulations. This is not just a constructed deck. You are restricted to what you could put in your deck. So that way it kind of feels a little more drafty, a little more limited versus just straight up constructed. As Ben Grazier's breakdown sheet has it here. I'll list these off for you real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Like I said, you guys can check it out on your own. I will just go ahead and spoil some ideas of decks I am considering playing with, because I feel like it's a good way to produce hype for the tournament and kind of support my fellow content creators and limited players. So rares, you can have rares and legendary cards. Choose one of the following. A, 4 unique rares. So one of each kind. B, 2 of one rare and 1 additional unique rare. So you're kind of paying a premium to have consistency or more than one of a kind, right? Next up, 2 unique legendaries with no rares, and then 1 unique legendary and 2 unique rares are your options for your rare and legendary cards. Next up, we have the uncommons, which is 12 unique uncommons, or 9 unique uncommons and 2 copies of 1 uncommon, 6 unique uncommons and 2 copies of 2 uncommons, 3 unique uncommons and 2 copies of 3 uncommons, and 4 copies of 4 uncommons. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much what you get. Cut and dry. And then finally, commons, you can have up to 3 copies of any number of commons. So once again, no playing a 4 of, which I think is pretty fair and limited, unless you're just drafting that one niche that no one wants. You know, those last playable cards are the ones that go in the bins, like Vicious Rumors. You could probably get a place of those, but Yeah, that's the restrictions. So you pretty much make a deck list on Eternal Warcry, and then you export it to farmingeternal@gmail.com with your username and number so people can find you. Make sure that's in by 9/27/2019. And yeah, then you can enjoy the tournament with us. So those are the restrictions of it. Let me go ahead and go over some of the kind of like a primer, if you will, of some of the ideas I'm throwing around. I'm not going to show you guys deck lists or anything of that because I don't want to completely spoil everything. I am putting some effort into this, so I don't want to just give away all my secrets, but I will kind of spark your own creativity. There's 4 ideas I am playing with, or that I guess that you can essentially go in my idea. So this is where I'm going down. First off, and this is, I'll start at the bottom actually because this is the one I'm least likely to do, is super focused power. So what this means is you're capitalizing on having like 2 awesome, let's say for example, if you want to super cheat, you go like the mayor, I forgot his name now, and I'll look it up while I'm talking so I can catch up to that. But you have the mayor that lets you go tutor up a relic, and then you have Martyr's Chains in your deck, and then you just go all in on that. You have ways of essentially, or governor, is it governor? I'll find it in a second, guys. So you essentially have, you kind of go all in on one style thing, if you will, if that makes sense. And you just focus on tutor effects and things to kind of get you to that point is one option, right? And like I said, I'm the least inclined to do that because I just don't feel like that's a good way to get there. Governor Saheen, there we go, was governor. So Governor Saheen, once per turn, you may pay 3 and sacrifice a relic to play the top relic of your deck. So essentially, you know, you finagle something to get Saheen out, and you have like cards that make relics, but they aren't really relics. And then the only other relic in your deck is Martyr's Chains. And then you just go all in on tutor effects and things to kind of get you there. That's one option, but I feel like that's extremely narrow. It's kind of like a glass cannon type thing. You get one shot to do this, and when you get there, you get there. When you don't, you don't. So I will not be really brewing around this. The next option is the 3-color good stuff. So considering that we are able to handpick our deck, we can essentially get the best of 3 colors. I know Ben Gracious is probably going to go 5 anyways, because we can put all the fixing that we need to at the common level into our deck. Both Seek Power and Cargoes are common, I believe. Let me double check myself. I know Seek Powers are. Let me just double check to make sure that Cargoes are. And oh no, Cargoes are rare. Okay, I apologize. Okay, well, either way, you can get 3 Seek Powers as well as the banners and the tokens. So I think the fixing, as well as Seek, I think Seek Power, or what is it? Seek, I forgot what the other one is called now. The 2 power one that you can either do a power card or a non-power card. Gosh, I don't know what my brain is doing today. I do apologize for that, guys. But either way, the fact that you are able to kind of handpick your fixing means that you're able to be a little more consistent than usual. You know, obviously you can run all the strangers that you need, so you'll have the fixing essentially to run. I'd probably go no more than 3 colors because I'm a conservative drafter, but that is something I'm looking at, doing something like, for example, Winchest, or the whole FJS thing that everyone dreaded for the longest time and constructed. Do something like that. Or even, you know, playing like the best units from Time, the best removal from Shadow, and then like the best ramp or something spells in Primal, things like that. And just capitalize on the fact that you're able to put all the fixing that you need or want in your deck for the most part. I have no idea why I thought the Cargoes, I thought they may have been uncommon. I didn't realize they were rare, but I should have known that. Anywho, I need my coffee, that's what it is. So that's another style of deck that I'll probably be playing around with and see what I can brew up. But these last 2 are the ones that I'm really focusing on, which is a lot closer to what I draft like. This first one is going to be Huru Flyers plus value. So essentially going Primal and Justice, valuing flyers, right? Taking all the really good flyer cards and stuff like that, and slamming that in my deck, and then, you know, comboing off with blue draw spells and remove or bounce, as well as justice removal, and then essentially splashing another color for maybe a cannon, or a conflagrate, streets of flames, or even shadow for feeding time and things like that, to just get a little extra value in the late game. And I think that would be pretty simple, because then I could just stick my power base to consistent Huru splashing whatever that third color will be. And that's the one I'm brewing with quite a bit. I do need to play test, because I want to have, like I said, I'm putting some effort into this and have some fun and do some, kind of showcase and give the guys at Farming Eternal my best foot forward and my best effort, because they are taking the time and the effort to put this format together, as well as host the tournament. And then finally, the one that's a little more niche that I kind of went overboard with before I really remembered what the restrictions were, was going with like an Argenport Minotaur synergies. The reason why I say this is because Gorehorn is a rare Minotaur that pumps all your other Minotaurs, that has Revenge. Then we have the Shadow Champion, the one that gives all your Shadow units a +1/+1. That's a Minotaur that has Lifesteal. Plate Maker, the Justice Bomb rare, is also a Minotaur. And then we have things like Streetwise and Torrid Test Pilot and Auric Lookout that are all Minotaurs. And so I felt like maybe there was some synergy there to kind of make a deck that kind of felt like you got there, like a build around in limited, you know what I mean? I'm still trying to keep it to a limited feel, because I think that's the fun aspect about this. Obviously, through restrictions breeds creativity. That one, like I said, once again, my numbers were initially skewed, because there's more Minotaurs in the format than you think, but a lot more of them were uncommon, and so I was kind of handicapping myself as far as how many I could have the deck. And so that might take a little more brewing, but I do like the Argenport style play, and I think there are some synergies there that could happen. Maybe that's going to be a sub theme, I don't know. But those are pretty much the decks I'm working with, and archetypes and things like that. I hope it sparks some ideas for you guys. If you're definitely interested in doing it, like I said, jump in their Discord. It's super active Discord, bunch of friendly people there, and kind of get in on the action. It'd be a lot of fun. We support our content creators and stuff like that. I will most likely record, do a deck tech on my deck, as well as record the games I play against other people, and post that on the YouTube. So even if you guys don't participate, you can definitely support the event by checking it out whenever I post it after the fact. So once again, it does start on the 27th. But that is it for that one. All right, moving on to my event. So if some of you might know, I have a Magic background, like the majority of people that came to Eternal. And in Magic, there's something called a cube, or cube draft. LSV is actually a big fan of it. He has one in real life, as well as I have 2 of them. And so it's something I want to try to bring to Eternal. And it long story short, for those of you that don't know, a cube draft, or a cube, is essentially, think about the curated packs that we are currently drafting, but with power level and rarity thrown out the window. So you pick a size, and for this event I'm going to do 4 packs of 13. I'll explain why in a moment. And so there's going, long story short, you pick X number, right, for X amount of players, which doesn't matter because we're doing it digitally, and you fill the cube with all the cards that you want to play, and it doesn't matter what they are. You can literally have every single card be a rare, every single card be a legendary, a combination of everything. You don't have to do your typical X amount of rares, or 1 rare, X amount of commons, X amount of commons. And so it's fun because you're able to relive cards that you used to play with, or have an opportunity to play with certain cards that may not have made the cut during standard, and just cards that are only good in limited, and you get to play with these bomb rares over and over again. And it's fair because everyone has bomb rares, and so you're able to kind of create these specific archetypes that you may not see. Like, for example, you can do, like, I'm planning on doing a reanimator archetype within the cube. And so yeah, so pretty much imagine just drafting 4 curated packs, but with power level out the door. And so that is what a cube draft is. So as of right now, I was brainstorming ways, trying to come up with a simulator and things like this. The best way I can do it is just to do this event for fun and have everyone play on the honor system. And so what I have devised, and this is going to be the test run. I have not picked a date yet, so definitely give me your feedback. Let me know if you're interested in doing this or not, so I can lock up a date. I'll probably post it on Reddit as far as the rules and how I'm going to do it and etc. But what I'm going to do for this run is, once again, I'm going to create a cube where everyone's going to do a typical draft, but instead of 12 cards, it's going to be 13 cards per pack. The reason why I did this is so you finish with 52 cards total in your pool. I want everyone to play with a minimum of 30 power in a 75 card deck. Once again, we're doing this because, much like the Farming Eternal, we aren't able to challenge each other with 45 cards, so we have to make 75 card decks. So I added an additional 4 cards to the draft pool. That way you don't have to play every card you draft, because I feel like that makes it a little harder to play when you have to literally play, the other way we would only end up with 48 cards and then you would have to only cut 3. So I feel like this gives people a little more flexibility. I like having a couple extra cards just in case, and it might let me fit in an extra archetype having those extra card slots. And once again, to kind of trim on playables, once again, everyone is forced to play with an additional 5 power, which I don't think is that backbreaking as long as everyone does it as well. So everyone's going to be playing with 30 sigils, so they have 45 playable cards in their deck, give or take, based on how highly they. That's the other thing too, is I am putting power in the draft packs. So, for example, like crests and tokens. So if people draft too many of those, then they end up with not enough slots for the 30 power. So that's why I am doing that. I hope it works out. We will see. But I'm going to actually make all the packs. And literally, I'll have pack one, pick one with 13 cards. Then I'll make another pack one, pick 2 with 12 cards. And so my deck list will be covered with packs for this event. I'm going to do a stream. It's most likely going to be a Sunday morning, early morning for the US. So that way it's early for the people that are US. They can either stay up from their Saturday night or just get up early on Sunday. And then it's also at a reasonable time for our European players. I will go live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ for the shameless plug. And then I will open up these packs live on stream. Anyone that wants to draft can tune in and draft with us. And I suggest having Eternal Warcry Deck Creator open. And then I was trying to give everyone a minute, but that's a lot. I mean, that's an hour to draft, which seems insane. So I'm actually going to just do about 30 seconds per pack. So what I'm going to do is make the entire cube list on Warcry. And then when I post on Reddit and on the Discord, my Discord, about the event, I'll post the cube contents or the list. That way people can go in there and kind of study it ahead of time, so we're not spending so much time in the packs trying to read every card. Because once again, remember, there's gonna be a lot of rares and legendaries in here, so there's gonna be a lot more reading required. So I'll probably end up doing it to where I open a pack, go over, show the card real quick, go over it, maybe read it, maybe not, and then let people pick for somewhere between 20 to 30 seconds, and then open up the next pack, and then open up the next pack. And I'm hoping I'll be able to draft with you guys, but we'll see. I might have to do my deck ahead of time or after the fact. But once everyone's done drafting, then I don't necessarily think I'm going to do a tournament. I think I'm just going to have a channel dedicated to this in my Discord, and then everyone can kind of find each other there, and I will spectate people on the stream. So people will battle out with their cube draft decks, and I will be spectating, maybe recording it for YouTube. And yeah, just kind of see how it goes, get people's feedback, see if they enjoyed it. If they did, then maybe I'll make this like a once a month thing, modifying the cube as we go with new cards, etc., etc. If I'm lucky, maybe someone can reach out to Patrick Chapin or LSV and get them to go in on it, because I know LSV is a big fan of cube. Don't know about Patrick Chapin, but it would be cool to have some Direwolf employees in on the action as well. I hope my other limited content creators jump in on it, but I'm not gonna twist anyone's arm. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea. It's something I wanted to try, and I'm not afraid to try stuff. So we're going to be doing that. So be on the lookout for that. I don't think I want to overlap with the Farming Eternal, but maybe just the the draft portion, I'm not really sure. We'll figure it out. We'll see what people's feedback is. So definitely give me feedback here on Twitter, on email, on Discord, Reddit, wherever you listen to this podcast. Leave some comments in the notes about what you think about this format. I'm kind of excited about it. It's going to be a big time sink to try to make the cube, because I have to make sure every color is represented equally and all the archetypes are viable and fair, because I want to make like an aggro deck viable, I want to make combo deck viable, etc. You know, spells matter, all the things that people like to play. But yeah, that's my Eternal Cube draft format thing tournament that I want to put together. So I hope you guys are excited about it. I know I am. And that's all I really want to talk about. Like I said, as I'm already brewing up the packs, but I have to make... It is going to be a singleton, my bad. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but it is going to be a singleton draft. So every card that you see in the packs is going to be a one-of. You won't see another one later on. So I think that adds an interesting little aspect to things. But all right, guys, that'll do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk some spoilers. So for those of you that are following along on YouTube, or if you want to just follow along on your own, I am on the Eternal Card Game official Discord in the spoilers channel. Just going down the line, we're not going to talk about all of them. Just going to pick out a couple here and there and talk about them a little bit. Some might be limited focus, some might be a little more constructive focus. We'll just pick and choose, have a good conversation. I'm not going to talk about the earlier spoils just because I feel like there's been plenty of time for the market to get saturated on them. So let's talk about, first up is Seasoned Drill Master. This is a 3/3 Minotaur for 3 and a green. And it says, summon, give one of your other units +3/+3 this turn. I like this card. I think this card is great, and I'll tell you why. Baseline, floor, bottom level, it is a 3/3 for 3, which, granted, in a new format, that could change, but in the last 3 formats, that has been 100% serviceable and completely good. Like, it's fine. Now, if we've had any experience from War Wagon, +3/+3 is a lot. And, I mean, this is going to get in some damage. Right, it is just this turn, so it doesn't last until your next turn. You can't use it on defense. It is strictly an offensive thing. But I mean, you could put this late game. This is effective because maybe the 3/3 body is less relevant, but the +3/+3 to a flyer or something with quick draw or something with deadly or even something with lifesteal will be a huge swing. And then even on curve, it's good. You play a 2-drop, then you play this thing as a 3-drop and pump up your 2-drop and swing. Your opponent has to figure out whether they want to chump block or if they're willing to take 5. So I think this card is quite strong. I think, once again, I don't think it's like a bomb rare that you're windmill slamming, but I think this card is really good. I like it. Don't quite think it's going to be constructed playable. Not necessarily sure. I guess we have to see. There's a lot of good 3-drops there that it would be competing against. But, you know, obviously I could see this doing some work with, for example, Hojin. You play your power, you pump Hojin, give it a lifesteal, then you play Seasoned Drill Master, pump Hojin again and swing. Like, that's pretty legit. But once again, there are plenty of things, especially in Rakano, that are very good 3-drops. So this thing will have some competition in constructed for sure. Let's see something else that is kind of fun. All right, here's a little bit of a meme card. Vicious Rejuvenation. It is a slow spell at legendary. 8 shadow, shadow, shadow. So triple shadow. Swap your health with the enemy player's health. So this is actually quite interesting because like you can make the argument that it's good against aggro if you're the control deck because you're getting beat down, and then when your life total is kind of low, you can all of a sudden use this to gain 15, 20 life. But I mean, it's still 8 power. I think this is more of a build around for some kind of synergistic control deck where you're taking chunks out of your own life to do stuff, maybe draw cards and things like that. And then when you're low, you all of a sudden surprise your opponent by swapping their life totals with yours and then having a way to finish them off through like a torch or something else, or maybe an evasive unit and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely some interesting brewing around this card. I don't see it being a big constructed tournament card, but like I said, I could see some fun being had with this card. Let's see. Oh, okay. I actually like this one right following off. Conservatory Alchemist, the 2/2 unseen at rare for 2 shadow primal, so fern. When you play a curse, your units get a +1 attack permanently. This card is pretty interesting because of the fact that, once again, it is 2/2 for 2. For all intents and purposes, it is vanilla on the baseline. There's no deadly, there's no war cry, so that is a bit of a bummer. But we are seeing some support for curses in this set so far in the spoilers. So there is a chance, like I said, it's an anthem effect somewhat. You know, it pumps attack, but permanently, and that's pretty relevant. That means if they end up killing this thing, if you got 1 or 2 activations out of it, you know, your 1/1s are 3/1s, or your 2/2s are 3/2s, or even 4/2s. Like, it does some work. Granted, it also says your unit, so it also pumps itself. So, you know, worst case scenario, baseline, rawr, this card, remember, you're paying 2 influence, which is 100% doable, I feel like, for a 2/2. You know, we have to kind of ID what the format looks like as far as curses. I don't think there's too many cheap curses that we're high on. Obviously, Permafrost is probably the most popular one, but you never know. They could be a thing, and it might just be incidental. So I think there's some adjustments to be made off this card. Like, will this card see play in an aggressive deck or in a little more mid-rangey deck? I'm not really sure. I think it can go either way. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see these cards that force you to kind of take a different look on a format or deck building. Okay, let's look at a Relentless Combatant. This is a 2/3 warrior for 4 red. It has Berserk, so not the best set of stats, but it's not horrible either. 2/3, you normally paid 3 for a 2/3 with a little bit of upside, so we're paying like the extra for the Berserk. And then Mastery, which is a new mechanic, which is Mastery 8, give it a +2/+2. So I won't go too in depth into this, but what Mastery means is whatever the Mastery number is on a unit or anything, when that unit deals X, that amount, whatever the number is, so X damage, then it gets that bonus. So for example, Relentless Combatant, it's Mastery 8. So whenever it gets around to dealing 8 damage to the opponent, it will get a +2/+2, becoming a 4/5. Now, as far if I remember, never mind, I'm not gonna go into it whether it re-triggers or not. We'll save that for the show where actual. So the interesting thing about it is that I'm assuming it can trigger Mastery mid-combat as well. So i.e., let's say you do the Berserk, right? You pump it one time with, let's say, your Rakano, you give it Barrel Through, so it's a 5/6. It jams in the first time, and you already got in with it before, so that if that triggers Mastery, it will get the +2/+2 for the second attack. So on top of the Barrel Through, or yeah. So there's some stuff to be done there, and then obviously if you can give it Evasion or something like that, you can get in there. It is a common, so you're not gonna see a Mastery that just completely blows out your opponent. But once again, it is an interesting card. Let's see. This one looks kind of cool as well. Akko, Inspired Artist, is a 1/1 Oni at Legendary for 1 and a red. Mastery 1, so as long as it just hits your opponent, so if you play it for on turn 1 and then you get in there, play a +1/+2 weapon on Akko. So Akko will become a 1 power 2/3, which isn't bad. That's pretty good if you get it on turn 1. But Mastery 9, mind you, it will count the first hit from the Mastery 1. Units and weapons in your deck get a +4/+2 and Overwhelm. Wow. So kind of like a mini-esque effect. There's a couple of times that we've seen this before. The 4/4 in Rakano that does that. It gives a +1/+1 to all your weapons and your units. And then as well as Svetya, the Oreen, that gives all your guys huge pump and Aegis. So that's pretty impressive. The fact that it hits units and weapons, like +4 attack, is a lot, and that it gets Overwhelm. So I mean, granted, that is a Mastery 9 though, so you definitely have to figure out how to do 9 damage with this guy. But you can get him down on turn 1, make him a 2/3. You know, it might be doable. It might be doable. That's kind of fun. I'm super excited for this set. I think there's all kinds of really neat cards that are coming down. Like this thing. Oh god, yeah, I need to read this because this card is going to probably make me lock in the Winchest. So, Aramot, Death Incarnate, 5/7 Nightmare at Legendary for 7 Shadow. He's unblockable. And when an enemy unit hits you, kill it. Straight up done. So if they swing in with like a champion, a bunch of Yetis, they all just die. Straight up. They get one hit and then they die. When Irma attacks, the enemy player discards the top 10 cards of their deck. So that's a little less, important. I mean, I guess it's like an ulterior, like, mill strategy, or if you have something like the Xenon Temple that puts all those cards into your void, there might be some things, but I absolutely love the fact that this thing is a huge beater at a 5/8. Like, it tussles with a lot of things. Unblockable means it's for sure going to get in there, if you give this thing double damage or something like that. But the fact that it kind of has a level of defense on its own, even when it's attacking, in the form of, your opponent has to decide, like, is it worth getting in, let's say, for example, with their Sandstorm Titan? Is it worth getting in the hit of 5 and then losing your Sandstorm Titan for free? Granted, you are taking 5. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not 100% upside because you do have to take the damage. But, I mean, you're getting free removal spells out of this. So if you're able to kind of like save your Slays or your Annihilates or your In Cold Bloods for like the big units that really matter, all the small ones can sit there and take little chip shots at you, and you're just getting free chars out of it, and lightning strikes and torches, So yeah, I think Aramot's gonna be quite an interesting finisher for sure. I'm excited to see how it plays out and what the counterplay to that is. Let's see what's another one. Ooh, okay. Vile Collaborator. This is a 2/2 cultist at uncommon for 3 and a shadow. Your dragons have +1/+1 and lifesteal. So I think the lifesteal is actually even more relevant than the +1/+1. And I'll tell you why. It changes combat math and it changes racing, right? A lot of times when you're taking the time to play these big dragons, and you can essentially lose to like more aggressive strategies or tempo plays and things like that. But when you give a big unit or aggressive unit lifesteal, all of a sudden it becomes a must answer threat, because you can't just race it. Like, racing is off the board, right? Think about that dragon that's the 5/2 that when it dies, it triggers the top cards of your deck, or when it dies, it gives your guys either flying or charge. Like, they have to kill it, but now essentially that's like they can race it. Like, can I afford to take the 5 and kind of beat there versus giving everything off the top of their deck? But then it becoming a 6/3 and having lifesteal means they just have to take it off the board. And then people have to decide, like, is this guy a lightning rod? You know what I mean? Are you going to save your removal for the dragons that are going to get pumped from this guy? Or are you just going to go ahead and use your premium removal, killing the Vile Collaborator? So once again, leads to some interesting play styles and stuff like that, and decision making. So I'm excited. And plus, obviously, this means that there might be more dragons. Arrgh! So, which leads us to our next card, because it has a dragon on it, which is Cremate. It is a fast spell for 4 fire, fire, shadow, shadow. So double fire, double shadow. Kill a unit or site. It gets void bound. That's right, site. So we have fast speed site removal in the just clean cut, like not damage. You don't have to be fire based anymore, like this, or shadow, I guess, because you could do it with like Vara's Favor. Yeah, this card just straight up removes the site, doesn't matter where. That's really helpful in the fact that it when you're falling behind, like if you don't have a unit on the board, you're going up against a control deck and they play a site, or it's 2 control mirrors where you don't have that many units to pressure your opponent, and then one of you lands a site. This could be the deciding factor, where even if it gets 1 or 2 spells off, you're able to take it out and not risk flooding the board with a bunch of units to try to get extra damage in there. So this once again, making sites a little more vulnerable is going to be interesting counterplay and constructed with with mirrors. Granted, it's at common, it looks like it has a little bit of a blue tinge to it, so I wonder if it's rare. If you guys are looking at this picture on YouTube, it's like, here's the common that's 100% gray, but then this one has like a slight blue hue to it. I want to say it's a rare. I don't think they'd have this at common. Seems a little too powerful to me, but I mean, then again, maybe not, because it is 4 power, double influence or quad influence essentially to kill a unit, but who knows. And then obviously the void bound is also relevant, taking out certain reanimator strategies. Let's see what else we got. Something that's not so crazy with all these super swingy cards. Actually, I want to talk about this one. This one's awesome as well. Even at 10, I don't care. I'm super excited to play this one. This is Nicola and Mullet. So the dragon's revamped is a nightmare dragon now. So we're assuming that maybe something happened to them in the expansion. But yeah, they're now an 8/8 nightmare dragon at 10 fire, shadow, primal. So 6 influence requirements in 3 factions. They have flying, Aegis as usual, and then berserk now. So mind you, it's an 8/8. So you berserk this thing, that on the ground level at 16 damage coming at your opponent. They have a summon effect. It's no longer spark, it's just straight up summon. Deal 4 damage to each enemy. So units, sites, and players. This can't be blocked by Aegis. Enemies killed this turn get void bound. Jeez. I mean, you are paying 10 for this, but holy crap, does it pay you off. I mean, this has to be a ridiculous board wipe, right? There's very few things that will tussle with this. And it's just so good. Like, this card is a huge payoff. I like this card quite a bit. I'm super excited to try to play with it. Oh, okay. Well, I just read, my bad. Only playable through Den of Ordeals. Okay, so you have to have the site that comes with it survive. So I guess I'll read the site real quick. My bad. Den of Ordeals. I didn't see that because it's not on the card. It was on the spoil thing. Den of Ordeals is a site at Legendary, obviously, for 4 health or 4 loyalty or 4 construction, whatever the life total is. Endurance, I don't know. 6 power, fire, primal, shadow. At the start of your turn, create and draw a treasure trove for each different name among your dragons. So, big dragon synergy there. You have to have a dragon on the board. If not, you get 0, right? But it, at the bare minimum, it does nothing. The site does nothing, which is not exciting. But we've had other sites that really don't do much either. Sometimes, not very often, but sometimes. You get 1 dragon to stick. Hey, now you're somewhat drawing a free card a turn. Then you have Vile, Mullet, and Nicola's agenda. Talon Dive, Streets of Flame, and The End is Near. And then obviously the 4th one, you get that awesome Game Ender. So we'll leave it at that. We'll move on. Let's see. So muster is the next mechanic that's been released, and it is my understanding that if you are able to play an attachment and a spell in the same turn, then you trigger muster. And muster can continuously be triggered. It's not like an ultimate that can only be used once. You can keep triggering it again and again if you're able to play an attachment and a spell in the same turn. We have Green Stretch Empath, which is a 3/5 for 5, so serviceable body at uncommon, and then muster, draw 2 cards. So essentially, it kind of pays you back. It replaces the 2 cards you played. It's hard to say how much of a hoop this is going to be to do. I don't expect it to be super common in Limited. Maybe in Constructed, but even then, you have to have 2 cards in your hand. You have to be able to play them, enough power to play them in the same turn. You want to be in a position where both are relevant that turn. So I don't know. I feel like this mechanic might be a little bit of a miss, but we'll see. We'll talk about it more. But I mean, this guy's great. The fact that you're gonna replace those 2 cards is huge. Like, you're drawing 2 cards somewhat for free because you're assuming that the attachment and the spell are doing something. Especially if it's something like, let's say, a +2/+2 sword. You just slap on, or even better, let's say Fur Hat. So you slap Fur Hat on the Empath, making it a 4/6, draws you a Justice Sigil, then you play Wisdom of the Elders, right? Which is totally be feasible, because you play Empath on 5, you play a Sigil, or let's say you go to 5, right? It's turn 5. You play the Fur Hat on the Empath. That gets you the Justice Sigil for your 6 power. You play this Justice Sigil, play Wisdom of the Elders. So that's your spell and your attachment. So you draw 2 off the Wisdom and 2 off of the Empath. Boom, draw 5 cards off of 2 spells. Got there. Yeah, I know, that was Magical Christmas Land. But still, that was kind of funny. Yeah. Oh God, the lines my brain goes to. All right. We'll talk about one more, and then we're gonna call it, because that's too funny. Like, I definitely went off the deep end on that one. All right, spore fern. This is a 5/5 mandrake. Okay, mandrake. Okay, for 6 primal. It has Aegis, so 5/5 Aegis for 6 is good. Overwhelm. All right, I like this. This works for me. The Justice Captain, they gave all your guys a +1/+1, was a 5/5 Overwhelm Aegis, and I liked it quite a bit. Mastery 10, so this thing has to deal 10 damage, which, I mean, off the bat is just swinging with it twice. Granted, it has to get in there, but you know. Magical Christmas Land again. For the rest of the game, when you play a spell, play an additional copy of it. All right, guys, so I don't need to deep dive into this. Torch all of a sudden deals 6 damage. So one torch can take out a I mean, you name it, right? A Heart of the Vault, a Sandstorm Titan, the Wisdom of the Elders, pay 3, draw 4. I mean, in Cold Blood can potentially get rid of 8 cards from your opponent's decks. Like, yeah, this card, you got to jump through some hoops, but boy, can this thing pay you off. Like, holy crap. I got to double check and see if Mastery is to the face or if it's just in general, because then you can combo this off with like fight type effects. You know, like target unit, Frostbath, for example. Target unit deals this much damage, or it's, you know, damage equal to its power to another unit. Like, that could be a thing. You can trigger this thing fairly quickly if that works. So that one's exciting because that's 100% a build around. But boy, do you get to have some great stories for later when you get this thing going. But all right, we're gonna call it there. Oh wait, no, I just saw one that was just spoiled a little while ago. So we'll end it on this one. Spectral Scythe. This is a +2/+3 relic weapon, so it goes on you for 3 shadow, and then it has unblockable. That's right, you heard me right. A relic weapon with unblockable. So what this tells me is that this weapon can just go face. Typically, relic weapons have to take out a unit. If there's a unit on the board that is not shifted, it has to attack that unit before it can go face. I feel like this having a blockable means that you can go face and ignore any defending units on the board. So that's kind of exciting. You get to see if we can combo it off with things to pump its attack, and then you kind of defend it as it just keeps taking away huge chunks of life off your opponent. So, I mean, obviously it's just a +2/+3. And just because it says unblockable doesn't mean you always go face. It might be completely serviceable to use it as a maul or a club and just take out a pesky flyer. So ceiling is semi-high, not super high. It's okay. The ceiling's there. You need to do some work to make this card good. You know what I mean? And I always like to think of worst case scenario when you just play the card by itself, or maybe when you're behind. The good news is it will gain you some life. You know, like sometimes you play a weapon just for the armor and you're not able to attack because it just either doesn't kill anything or you need the life. At least you can play this and get in for 2 damage before it, you know, bursts. So it's a thing. And then obviously if you have ways of pumping it, becomes better. If you have some style of armory deck and keep pumping it up, then when you draw it, you're able to surprise your opponent. That's a good thing too. But yeah, guys, that is gonna do it for our spoiler things. Actually, wow, 20 minutes worth of spoilers. That went by pretty quick. I thought I was very lightly touching on these. Oh boy, set review is gonna be a doozy. I'm gonna have to bring 2 cups of coffee for that one. But that is our that's our spoilers for today. So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up, going into our what's the play of the week. This week, our what's the play is kind of interesting. It kind of lets you choose a personality preference, I guess, when it comes to strategy. So let me break it down. Our opponent. So I think I've been doing one side of the board and then the other. So for this one, I'm going to try just throwing the stats out there together and see if that helps you guys paint a picture. Let me know if it does, which one you prefer best in the comments down below, so I can continue to improve the what's the play for you all that are listening to the podcast and not watching it. Of course, if you do want to, the picture or video of the what's the play will be on the YouTube video as usual. So, okay. Our opponent is 2 out of 5 power with time, justice, and shadow influence. 2 out of 5. We are 5 out of 5 with time, justice, primal, shadow influence. Our opponent is at 13 life. We are at 20 life. On the board, the opponent has a 2/2 Combatant Stranger, the 3/3 Endurance Entomancer, the 2/2 Combatant Ambusher that silences a unit, and a 7/6 Overwhelm Stygimoloch. And 3 cards in hand. Our side of the board has a 5/5 Stranger, Elysian Stranger, a 2/2 Argenport Stranger, and a silenced, thanks to the Ambusher, 4/6 Behemoth. We have an Oath Book in play, which is when a single unit attacks, it gets a +1/+1, which is thus how we have a 5/5 Elysian Stranger. We have a Stand Together, which is the 3-time Justice fast spell that gives all our units Aegis and a +1/+1 permanently. We have a Combatant Stranger and a Huru Stranger. So, here's what's the play, right? We have an option here. We have a couple options. We can A, attack with just 1 unit to get the trigger off of the Oath Book. Our options there is to either attack with the Behemoth, that will make it a 5/6, and then we can use the Stand Together to pump it should they block with the Stygimoloch, or obviously that telegraphs that we have a trick, so they could potentially not block. They can always triple block, they could double block, etc., etc. We can attack with just the Elysian Stranger, which will make it a 6/6, which will obviously tussle with the Stygimoloch, or they can again triple or double block, etc., to get off the board. We can not attack at all and just play both the 2 strangers in our hand, putting us at 1 power left and not activating the Oath Book. Or we can play the a stranger and then attack, leaving Stand Together open and activating Oath Book. And then if our opponent blocks or doesn't block, we can either play the Stand Together or the stranger. So, what would you do here? And I don't necessarily think there is a right or wrong. What I decided to end up doing is I wanted to attack with the Behemoth. Reason being is our board is somewhat at parity with them having a slightly bigger unit. That being said, we would have been able to double block with our Behemoth and our 5/5 and only lose 1 unit. But it gives them the option of deciding when to attack to do that. And obviously it would be done when they have a trick in hand. So I wanted to capitalize on them potentially being pseudo tapped out or not having access to their trick, and being able to activate a Oath Book trigger, because it would bump the Behemoth up to a 5/7, and then with Stand Together, should they block with just the Stiggy, which I don't think any decent player would do because it has to be a trick, right? If we were just going to activate Retribution, then we would have attacked with our 2/2. We can Stand Together, making it a 6/8, being able to kill the Stiggy. Kill the Stiggy. So, and then obviously having a 5/5 Elysian Stranger on defense means that we can potentially double block the Stiggy if we need to, and it blocks everything else on their, all their other units, their 2/2s and their 3/3s. So I decide to play a stranger pre-combat and then attack. That way, if they do not block, I can play the other stranger, but if they do block and I am forced to use Stand Together, it at least pumps the rest of my team, adding 4 +4/+4 worth of stats to the board. Our opponent played around this quite well, and they ended up just quad blocking the Behemoth. And so here's the other part of it. Would you have taken the potential 2-for-1 and left the Behemoth on the board, killing a 3/3 and a 2/2? Or would you have went ahead and killed the Stygimoloch, trading 1-for-1 with your Behemoth? I apologize, guys, kind of late. I decided to go ahead and get the biggest threat off the board, being a fair 1-for-1, and traded my Behemoth for their Stygimoloch, thus giving me a stronger board presence against my opponent, I felt like. So that is going to be the what's the play of the week. Not too crazy in depth, but I do think it has some lines of play and kind of figures out what kind of play style you prefer if you want to sit back and wait. Of note, our deck was a little shy on removal, so maybe that was one of the reasons why I wanted to play a little more aggressive. But all right, guys, that is going to do it this week. So hope you enjoyed the show as usual. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really makes a difference. I really do appreciate that. If you want to contact me, you can message me on Twitter or email me. So that is EJthePodcast on Twitter, and you can email me at EJthePodcast@gmail.com. The link to the Discord is down below. If you want to check that out, join the Discord, and you can reach me 24/7 there. Might take a minute to respond, but I do check it quite frequently. You can catch me on my real life stuff at Caesar LeBear 7 on Instagram. And of course, once again, if you aren't watching this podcast and you're just listening to it, I do encourage you to go visit my YouTube channel, EJthePodcast on YouTube, or just search Eternal Journey, where you can find draft videos and all kinds of other content. And once the ECQs start, I do events as well. I try to do every single event that they release and do a video and post that as soon as possible, so you guys can have a better understanding of whether you want to play in the event or not. So definitely check that out there. And finally, you can hang out with me live at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday morning Central Time, where I do some limited and some constructed, primarily limited. I like to be limited focused for all you guys trying to get better at drafting and limited play. So yeah, remember to be on the lookout for my cube draft. Let me know what you think about the idea. That is the most important feedback I can use right now. But that will do it, guys. So hopefully we'll get all the mechanics by next week's show, and I'll do a mechanic breakdown then. But until next time, happy gaming.